Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, thanks for checking me out. My name's Brian, and today we're going to check out the 2022 Toyota Sienna XLE all-wheel drive. Here's a quick look at the sticker. This van is more of a basic XLE all-wheel drive. It doesn't have the 18-inch wheel upgrade or the XLE Plus package, which gives you the premium audio, plus the wireless charging and the JBL sound system with a subwoofer, plus the cross rails on the top where the roof racks are. And it also doesn't have the entertainment package, which requires the XLE Plus package. But as you'll see in the video, this van is giving you a lot for the money. And like I mentioned, it is an all-wheel drive XLE. Fun fact, all of the Siennas are hybrid now. You can't get a gas model, at least in the US. And this van for 2022 won 2 awards. It won the Kelley Blue Book Best Buy Award and the IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus Award. Let's check it out. So you're looking for a van. You're looking for a vehicle that's all-wheel drive, hybrid, and gives you more space for your passengers and cargo than something like a Highlander. Well, you don't need to look any further, because the Sienna, being a long-standing flagship vehicle for Toyota, has also gotten better over the years. And another great thing to tell you about the Sienna, despite the fact that it comes in this awesome new color, Cypress Metallic, is that the Sienna is the only all-wheel drive hybrid van that you can get at all. So today, we're going to talk about the exterior, the engine and powertrain. We're going to get inside and then go over some of the technology of this awesome van. Alright, so if you're not new to the channel, you know I love starting in the front because I'm a headlight guy. And for the Sienna, you have standard LED lights for the low beam, high beam, and the fog lights, which unlike the RAV4 at the XLE level, you're getting fog lights standard on this van. The parking light is a jade strip in a J shape that really lets you know it's a Toyota without copying the Corolla with triple J's. So inside the headlight you have these 2 chrome J's, which really do catch the light nicely, but closer to the center where the nose is, you have this nice little crystal white J that during dawn and dusk, or when you're parked at nighttime, is just going to make it look like it's almost pouting a little tear out from the corner of its eyes. And something I really like about this van that it shares with the trucks is that you can run it with the parking lights and fog lights. And that's a functional thing that you don't really see available in the RAV4 or even the Camry, which doesn't really come with fog lights, because the fog is a mist that kind of hovers right above the pavement. And you want the light to be low so it can get underneath the fog and shine up on the pavement so you can see the pavement through the fog, whereas the low beams and high beams would bounce against that fog, creating a bit of bounce back with the light. So very cool to see. You can actually operate these fog lights in a functional way, which is kind of a foreshadow to the Woodland Edition, which Toyota introduced, which is going to give you a little more ground clearance and a couple other nice perks for the outdoors people. But we're not looking at a Woodland, we're looking at the XLE. A little bit of a wave here, a little bit of muscle, kind of reminding me of the Highlander. And instead of just putting a simple clamshell, it's nice to see some of these lines and sculpting figures. Standard are the 17-inch alloy wheels with a little bit of a darker gray finish than we've seen over the last couple years. There is an available 18-inch upgrade, which they consider a package, but this is what it looks like at 17 inches. And you have an all-season tire, which is going to work great with the all-wheel drive system. Of course, if you live in a bad snow climate, you might want to upgrade to snows, which makes this thing an absolute tank. There's that green at a couple different angles. But yes, like I mentioned, you have a lot of prominence on the hip bones here, and we have an open to closed shape here that really tailors into the taillights and just pinches, and it gives it that fast look. A lot of front end presence, but we're kind of almost giving the illusion of trimming down the rear. You know, vans in the past were always known as having just a big fat rear end and not a whole lot of personality going on in the front. And you can tell here that Toyota was really trying to drive it home by changing that. I like that the windows have still stayed a pretty big size here, so Toyota hasn't made these back windows very small to err on the side of sportiness. They're keeping the functionality. And working our way to the back, we all perceive style differently, but I will say this, I call it mascara. This black finish here is just kind of dripping down, and it plays very nicely with the green. It goes all the way onto the side, disappears, and comes back down here like a waterfall. And if we tilt over, there's actually a little bit of a gap where you can fit your fingers in there. So there's some three-dimensional look here that creates a little bit of a shadow effect. And during certain lighting, it really gives it a racy look without looking like it's trying too hard. You know, it just gives a little bit of pop, a little bit of style. And I think this is going to attract people into the, you know, minivan way, the lifestyle of just getting something that's totally made for fitting people and totally made for space. Whereas a Highlander is going to have a little bit more of that body tuck, a little bit more ground clearance. It wants to be more athletic. This doesn't care. It's maximized shuttle, but you get the style now. So yeah, to sum that up, the rear end style I'm definitely happy with to see, and at nighttime these red lights look really nice. Definitely a lot of cool details, like a smoked finish here on the plastic on the inside there, which is nice. A little bit of a, I call it like a duckbill kind of thing going on, like a little natural bit of a wing. Plays nicely with the little bill on the top. Some people mentioned that they would have preferred the wiper to be tucked up away. I can agree with what they're saying, but this is not something that would chase me away from a van. I mean, from a repair, replace mindset, it's pretty simple to access right there. And working our way back up to the other side. Depending on the color you get, the body lines really do show. I think the exterior is nice. I think it's definitely updated from what we've seen in the van world. But with all that aside, let's pop the hood and see what's powering this family shuttling mobile. Okay, so under the hood, we are presented with Toyota's 2.5 liter 4-cylinder with a CVT-E transmission. So when you're driving it, it's going to sound like there's just one big gear that's slowly changing RPMs, which is fine, especially when you put it in sport mode. It's got a decent amount of power. This is going to give you 35 miles per gallon down the board with a blend. I think it's set of 36, so very similar to the Highlander. 245 net horsepower. It's not the fastest vehicle you've ever driven or will drive, but when you put it into sport mode, it's got a little bit of push. And I feel like it definitely has some of that power remaining. If you were a V6 Sienna driver, I think you'll find this to be pretty sufficient. But if you're new to this kind of stuff, the hybrid system basically just has a big battery behind the back seats, and sometimes the engine decides to be on, sometimes it decides to be off. You literally just drive it the way you would enjoy it, and the car does all the thinking, and you enjoy more gas mileage. But simple design here, like I like to mention in all my under the hood parts of the video. Got the air intake over here where your filter is, super easy to get to. I can check my brake level right here just by simply glancing at it. Adding and checking the washer fluid is right there. I can access my fuses and relays. Just by glancing at the coolant reservoir, I can see its level for both of them. And then say I need to work on the headlight system. Pretty easy to get to back here, just got to take some plastic out. I'd say overall it gets a B for being simple. This is just a dust cover here. I can add a little bit of oil when I'm doing my oil change. I can check the oil to the engine right there. And of course, for work later down in life, I have the fuel rail right up top. My coil packs are easy to get to, etc. So a quick crash course on how the hybrid system works, because I went a little quick. If you're new to the hybrids, it's kind of easy when I stand to the side here. You have your regular Toyota engine, which is a 4-cylinder on this van right up front. There's a big battery underneath the back seats. You do not have a mechanical connection between the front and back axles like you would on a gas model, say like a gas model Highlander. And you have a separate electric motor that powers the back axles and a separate electric motor that powers the front axles. So when you're driving, sometimes at lower speeds, it'll be powered just off of the battery and the engine will shut off. That's going to boost your fuel economy. Sometimes when you're driving, the engine's going to be on, but you're still getting juice from the battery as well. Sometimes the battery's not really giving you a lot of juice and you're getting most of the energy from the engine. And that's why they call it a hybrid, because you're getting the blend of power from both sources, which makes it efficient. And then lastly, it collects energy from the brakes when you're braking and it sends it back to the battery. And of course the engine can also send energy back to the battery as well to help it regenerate. Also, unlike the Prime version of the hybrids, this not being a Prime, you don't have to worry about plugging it in anywhere. It will operate all on its own, and this is something that gets brought up a lot with the hybrids. You don't want to run this vehicle out of gas and assume the battery is going to help you, because that's not how it's going to work. When your gas is at a quarter tank, I personally suggest that should be the point where you refill it or try to. But don't think that running this out of gas is going to make this an electric car at low speeds, because you're just going to run into trouble. Now, when the battery does drain down, which is totally normal and expected, it's going to start replenishing itself on its own by keeping the engine on more, even at low speeds. So you don't have to worry about the battery exhausting all the way down and then you not having a battery anymore. The vehicle's designed to have fluctuating battery levels, which actually help the longevity of the battery. So, standard on the Sienna XLE, as long as I have the key fob on me, I only have to give the vehicle one quick foot motion and the hatchback opens right up. And once it's open all the way, I'm greeted with an excellent, far superior to the Highlander's, cargo space. That also turns very quickly into the back row. And Toyota gives you this little number system to let you know what order to do things. So if I wanted to put only one seat up, I'd grab number 1. I'd put it up like this, and then I pull number 2, it catches, and then I stick up the little headrest just like that. And to do the second row, I can do it one-handed, doesn't take a lot of muscle at all. Pull this up like that. Boom. And now I have 7 seats. It is available in 7 or 8-seater, but this one so happens to have the aisle right in the middle. With the third row up, I have a huge bucket here with lots of storage space for throwing luggage, duffel bags, sports gear, etc. And I have a cubby over here to fit some emergency gear, or even more little knickknacks as well. And then there are these clip away areas here to give me quick access to. My tire repair kit, because it doesn't come with a spare tire anymore. And if you wondered where the battery is, it's right over here. That's not the hybrid battery, that's actually the car battery. You can get a spare tire as an option, but I find that that's starting to become a little bit more tough to get. But yep, this is what our cargo area looks like on the 2022 Sienna. Now let's go to the very back row. Same thing on the sides, which is standard. As long as the key fob is on me, I only have to do one forward kick motion. And the door opens right up. And check it out, the sun is out, everybody. So now you get to see how gorgeous the cypress green metallic is. And let me close this door real quick because I love green and I want you guys to enjoy this moment with me. Come on now. There we go. I didn't push it hard enough. Check out that color. All right, so opening up the door, I'm greeted here with plenty of space for getting in and out, with a nice hard plastic down here to step on. Of course, you can probably get some door sill protectors. Not too much to worry about because people kind of get the hint like this. So I'm gonna jump in. And what I can do is walk right on back. I'm kind of hunched. Okay. And the seats are more in a reclined position. The third seat belt does retract into the ceiling and it'll go down and let you have a third seat here. I'd say this is going to be for your smaller people. 2 people comfortably back here. 3 a little tight unless it's kids. On the passenger side only, we're offered a USB and USB-C. At 5'10" with this seat right here back pretty far, I still have plenty of room and I can kind of open up like that. Sitting back on the recline, my shoulders over here, which is below this line here. And I will say the windows here looked a lot bigger from the outside than they do on the inside. But I don't feel too claustrophobic because I have my own ventilation up top, which every row does. And I have a reading light if I actually want to read a book or a newspaper. Cup holders, I can stick my arm naturally right over here. I will say in a reclined position as an adult, this is not the most comfortable because my tricep here is kind of nudging against this hard plastic. But you have to figure you're going to have kids back here and they're not necessarily going to want to be leaning back the way I am, and they probably don't care about little things like this. But I could definitely take a nap back here on a long drive and be very happy. Let's check out the middle row. Okay, so moving on to the middle row, instead of like the Highlander, which would have this hard hump with cup holders, you're getting these cool little bungee nets with a little elastic grabber, and you can just slide in your drink right there or your bottle and it's going to stay right there, which is nice. And your seat belts are pretty much stationary and they're not going to get lost. And fun fact, you can remove these seats too. I'm totally crunched right now, by the way, and then I sit back down. Much more space. And I have a very thin armrest here. Fabric on the inside, which is pretty interesting. And then I got the Softex on the outside. It's not the biggest armrest I've seen, I'll say it. But for, point of travel and efficiency, you got to think of it like an airplane too. You need space for people to travel through here. So if you have big fat armrests, you're limiting travel into that back row. So just pretend you're in an airplane and realize that the size of things are not going to be like the couch on your living room. But if I'm in a reclined position, it's definitely doable. I'm going to go ahead and close the door real quick. There's a couple different ways I can do it. I can just pull the handle here. I can ask the driver to hit the button on the top. I can also hit the power door button here. Or my caregiver or parent can pull the handle on the back, on the outside here, or they can push the little black button over there. And also you can turn off the power door option so that they're just a fast sliding door, but that will remove the kick motion. And the button to turn off the power doors is actually right there. Power door off. So at the push of a button, you can turn these doors into quick sliders. Another great thing I like about XLE Toyota Highlanders and vans is the privacy shades that you can tell are very durable. They're built to last. There's no electronic mechanism that's going to break like on a European car. And when the kids slam these 1,000 times, it's going to do nothing. And it's a nice rubberized grabber here, not a cheap plastic that's going to scratch and chip and cut people's skin up. It's nice and rubbery. Awesome. And my vent is here, which I prefer the vent to be on the pillar here instead of up here, because I'm going to beat the Highlander up a little bit. The Highlander has the vents right here and right here. And though it's not horrible, it really just forces air down onto the top of my forehead, the top of my scalp, or like down my face and legs. And I don't get that diagonal, nice gradual flow of air onto my chest, neck, and torso that I really enjoy when I'm feeling hot. I figure most people are not going to care about little things like this, but I could be wrong. So it's nice to see the vent in the proper place, in my opinion. I also like that there's a dedicated button for the light here instead of turning the whole lens into a pusher, which I feel like just gives way to moisture and stuff like that. And you really know absolutely where the button is. Simple handle with a hook for my suits and my shirts, and a hook on both sides with another vent, and a separate control for my dual temp in the back here. So not only can I do a separate temp for my driver and passenger here, I can do separate temps for my fake driver and my fake co-pilot back here as well, which is nice. And there'll be a nice lit up LCD display. I can change my air direction right there, fan speed, and different temperatures. You can't have individual fan speed, but you can have your individual temperatures, which is really nice. Of course, you can turn it off or turn it onto auto. And like you probably expect, the pilot will be able to change all of that stuff from up front, say you can't reach or they want to change it for you. Now, this seat is in the same position it was, and look at the massive amount of room that I have between here and here. So what I can do is, down below you won't have a bar. It'll actually be on the side where you can grab a little lever. This is going to be my recliner, but if I pull this up, I can slide forward and back. And now that I'm going to slide a little bit more forward like this, so that I still have at least 9 inches of room in the back, going right behind this seat. Now look how much space I have. About 8 inches right here, maybe 7.5, 8 inches. So you can make everybody comfortable in the Sienna instead of either have the middle row sacrifice or the back row sacrifice, which is the typical story in a Highlander. In the Highlander, when you're shuttling a lot of taller people or adults that are at least 5'8" and up, you're gonna have to sacrifice the back or the middle, but not in the Sienna. In the Sienna, you can have plenty of space here, plenty of space here, full-grown people, reclined, ventilation, good to go. Let's work our way to the front. Onto the co-pilot seat. Here's the little black button that I mentioned. And what's nice about the black button is that you're not doing the pulling motion on the handle for year after year, thousands of pulls. That's going to save you the wear and tear on the handle. So instead of pulling the handle like it used to be, you just push the button. Awesome. Here's what it looks like entering as the co-pilot to the 2022 Sienna XLE all-wheel drive. Let's get this out of the way so you can see how the color looks. This is a very earthy color combo. It's the green with tan interior, and this is what the tan interior looks like. This is the tan Softex. If we get real close here, you'll be able to see there's like a little rocky design in the Softex here that goes all the way to the stitching. And then it has that leather effect, which looks like a natural printed leather. And if you're not familiar with Softex, it's a very high quality material that Toyota took over 10 years to develop. Has a slight reflective property, doesn't really need to be moisturized, and will never smell like sometimes leather will. And if you keep a pack of baby wipes in your van, if somebody spills something, quick wipe up and you're done. Not like cloth, which will get married to whatever you spill on it. And working our way down, we have these nice locking mats also on the passenger side, so when they step on it, it's not sliding anywhere. It's a simple mat, shallow channels. It says Sienna in black. Here's our door card. It's interesting on the door card because we almost have a 3-color tier here. We have the dark black, which is a hard plastic like on the trucks and like most cars. You know, very durable but hard plastic, so it's going to scratch easy, but it's going to last a very long time. We have a darker shade of tan here, almost like a biscotti. And then we have the light tan here. It looks like sand down at the beach. Adds a lot of dimension, and I personally like it. I think the one-color cards that you would get from the 90s and 2000s are very cheap looking now and dated. These tiers of colors give it a little bit more ambiance of class and refinement. There's some vocabulary words. And you probably can't see this on camera, but this is almost like a bronze, sparkly bronze finish, which gives it that metal to really break up these natural looks, you know. And this is also a shiny silver here as well, not a chrome, which I'm not a big fan of chromes. And it's nice to have these, looks like a sandblasted silver because it's not going to shoot the sunlight in your face when the sun is shining on the door card. Cool thing about this van is this is not hollow. It's not a handle. It's not supposed to be one. You got this nice handle here with a grip on the inside. This is actually a shelf that goes pretty deep. You could make a swimming pool for a Barbie doll in here. That'd be pretty cool, like a little personal jacuzzi. But yeah, that's deep. It's awesome. in the bottle holders, and something I wish my truck had, your little puddle lights, entry lights, whatever you want to call these. They light down onto the ground so you know what you're going to step on. You can see if you dropped anything, and those are great. I love them. Working our way in. Standard is an electronic seat for the passenger without lumbar support. So you just have forward, back, up and, actually no up and down. So just forward and back and recline. See, I learn every day. Basic, but electronic. It's nice. Just gonna get my seat set up real quick. I'm gonna move this sticker and we're gonna see what it looks like visibility wise as a passenger. In Copilot, lots of visibility. I'm gonna open up this vent. Lots of visibility, which is something that minivans have always offered and probably always will. And here's the continuation of that nice metallic bronze that has a slight sparkle to it. It doesn't look gaudy at all. Looks very machined. I forgot to mention we have a USB and USB-C back here. I suspect USB-C will be standard soon. Dual armrest, which is very interesting because these don't come up. I just push this. And of course it prioritizes opening to the driver. But what's nice is when it does open up, if the passenger needs to get in, it's not really blocking me like on some of the older Toyotas. So it's actually kind of even keel. Lots of space. Past the elbow. With another USB and USB-C. I like the hard clicks. The buttons feel firm. They feel very Toyota-y. That's a term I made up. You can just... I'm a little biased, but I see a lot of competition. I can feel the quality still. You know, it's just getting better and better. And Toyota, if you ever see one of my videos, keep it up, guys. I love working with these. I mean, just listen to this. With 225,000 miles on it, it's still going to probably sound perfect like that. It's not rattly and creaky like on some of my competition that we get traded in 1 to 2 years old. This is called a bridge console. So the cool thing about this is you have the perfect height for armresting and operation so that you don't have to reach, you don't have to look down, and the cup holders are not all the way down like they used to be. The controls are not down or tucked out somewhere weird. They're right here. They're super easy to get to. So the amount of travel that your arms are doing is decreased, which means more focus from the eyes for safe driving. These little details matter. That's why we've seen an overall lift of the controls. You know, things are kind of blending in it the right way. Notice how screens, controls, everything is, at least with Toyota, because they think about stuff like that, which I like. And then underneath this control center here is where I can put my purse, my bag, little duffel bag, laptop, diaper bag, just life, you know, a couple gallons of milk, some groceries, some bread and cheese, whatever you're into. This is a rubberized finish, which you probably can't really see very well, but this mat can come out for cleaning. And underneath you have that harder plastic with the same design as up top. So this can really take the beating, and if you need to put something here that can't roll away, like a couple chapsticks or medicine, you can put it right there. Some pens, stuff like that. I mean, use your imagination. And then tucked away, bringing back some of Toyota's age, is a 12 volt. Yeah, you can still get a 12 volt in 2022. And then this bronze works its way up and over for another shelf with a little wall so my things don't slide. And underneath, if I take all these books out, I'd give it like a C+. It's not a huge glove box. It's got an interesting L shape, but it's definitely doable. And what I like is, in my position, this doesn't hit my knees. And in a lot of other vehicles, the passenger kind of has to do this. Nope, this drops right down. And it is locking. You can slide the key out of the little slide out key and lock that. This is a nice soft material here. Very soft, comfortable material here. Not plush like a $100,000 luxury car, but it's definitely nice. You just have that Toyota feel and sound to the buttons that I really appreciate Toyota bringing to the table. I really enjoy selling these. I'm very proud of these. This is not a soft material. Neither is this. It's more of a hard plastic like on the door. I personally like when you get at least a layer of soft material here because it just, I don't know, it looks cool. I feel like it adds to the acoustics a little more, but we're nitpicking now. I think that's enough time as the Copilot. Let's get into the most important seat and see what it looks like to drive a Sienna. Here's what it looks like getting into the 2022 Toyota Sienna XLE all-wheel drive. So before we jump in real quick, identical door card with that tier of colors that I really appreciate and enjoy. You know, you will want to use a baby wipe as the sweat shows up on this over the years from resting your arm on here if you're going a little high during some of those sunny drives. No problem, it'll wipe right off. Same shelving system. Now I have an up and down with a 4-way lumbar support and recline. Of course, the driver has to be the most comfortable person because they have everybody's lives in their hands. A fully adjustable seat belt, which is expected these days. All anti-whiplash headrests that have been updated. And let me get in for you. And if you're new to hybrids, you might not hear the engine when you start it. You're going to look for a green symbol that says ready. So by pushing the brake and a quick push, I'm greeted with the Sienna's startup. And in the bottom left corner there is the little ready symbol that I mentioned. That's what you look for. That's how you tell that a hybrid Toyota is actually on and ready to roll. Here's a quick diagram of the hybrid system. So like I mentioned, you have your engine here. It's kind of reversed from what I showed you. There's my electric motor here, electric motor for the front, and they show the battery in the middle, but it is behind the back seats. It's underneath the back seats. They're starting to do the hybrid batteries more of like a platform down below in the bottom, but just for diagram purposes, this helps people understand the most. Nice ergonomic climate control system, which you will see in the tutorial video. But you have your 4 different temperatures, which is great. You can synchronize everything if you want to and control it all like this. Simple to read buttons. Things are next to each other that should be next to each other. Heated seats right there for passenger and driver. The shifter just seems to be in the perfect spot. And with the way the angle of the actual arm is, it goes into park and it goes into drive with a lot less effort than previous models, which is nice. I think it is a cool, it's an interesting design. It's funny the way my taste is because I have a TRD off-road Tacoma and I actually don't like the TRD shift knob. I like the stock one. I'm a shift knob person, I guess, but definitely nice. And you can put it into shift mode and you would shift through kind of like what's simulated gears here. Through 6 different simulated gears to really get a feel and try to hold on to your RPMs. Back into reverse. Nice legible backup camera. And with the electronic parking brake standard, when I put it into park, in a matter of 2 seconds, it parks itself. I take off the brake and it doesn't roll at all, which is great. A couple different drive modes here. That'll go into normal mode, down to regular and down to eco. The sport mode will light up red, normal mode is black, eco mode is green, so you can tell right away what mode you're in, which is nice, and you can do that while moving. I will tell you the sport mode definitely gives you a bit more juice. When the battery is regenerated over 70%, I can actually choose electric vehicle mode, which is great. That'll keep the engine off. And has a cool feature I'll show you in the tutorial where you can actually come to a stop at the red light and take your foot off the brake. Interesting spot for USB, but it's right over here, easy to see. No surprises underneath like you get in the previous gen Highlanders. plenty of visibility. The mirror is way down on the door. It's a big fat mirror so you can see all over the place, and lots of space to see here. A decently thin A-pillar and just wonderful big windows. I can see all around me, and a big back windshield. No pano, but the regular size is fine. I really do enjoy that they went with the darker gray for the top, which really does add a little pop and contrast to the stock tan interior. Gives it that element of three-dimensional feel that I mentioned. I personally find tan roofs, unless you're in an ultra-luxury vehicle, sometimes tan or even light gray on the top, for me personally, we're all different, can kind of be perceived as cheap. So I like when the darker colors are on the top. But like I said, if I'm in an ultra-luxury vehicle, I think all tanned out is pretty sick as well. Screen is very easy to operate, which we'll go into depth on the tutorial. Of course, you can change this for black or white. I can even turn the screen off, which is nice, and still listen to music. When I hit map, it's going to say I need the navigation app, which you can get Scout GPS Link with the Entune system, or if you don't want to deal with that stuff, you can just plug it in and get your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Toyota will soon be wireless Apple CarPlay and everything, but don't let that hold you back, because there's nothing like a connection. Simple, and it charges while you do it. Speaking of charging, you can charge the phone there, or in here, or back here, or if you got a 10-foot cord, you can go all the way back to the third row where I mentioned. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total chargers in the Sienna. Everybody's happy, and number 8 would be this old school 12 volt for a total of 8. The hazards button is kind of visible if you can play Where's Waldo. It's right over here. It doesn't light up. I kind of wish that it lit up so I know where to find it, but that's just me. I guess that's the old school 1990s cars that's coming out, but simple, easy to get to. I maybe would have preferred that it was somewhere integrated in here, but because I use the hazards a lot to communicate when I'm driving and construction and stuff like that, but not a big deal. I'm sure they had their reason for that. 4 pretty decently sized vents. Nice leather wrapped steering wheel. Very Toyota-ish. This is actually not hollow like you get in a lot of other cars. It's very full, but you're not really holding the vehicle here. You're more like 3 and 9 or 10 and 2. I think 3 and 9 is best, but little nudges for the grip. I think it was stitched very nicely, which I expect if they stop stitching it nicely, you know something's wrong. Looks sporty. This is pretty small. Full controls for the MID. My cruise control is right over here. I can even change songs, change volume, and from going side to side, I got different menus in the MID, which is nice. I can control some of the settings to the safety features, but most people like that screen because you can see the digital view. And fun fact about the hybrids, you're not going to see your RPMs. You're just going to basically see a couple different representations, like it's going to dip down when it's charging or eco driving, or when you're really getting on it, it goes into power. And then just analog for the speed and the gas. Toyota really does keep it super simple for the readouts, which I appreciate. I'm a little bit of a watch guy, and I appreciate a dial that's easy to read. And I like that Toyota does that. They don't try to make it look too convoluted and weird and futuristic. Simple, you look at it, you get the info, you look at the road, which I like. Auto dimming with home link for 3 different garages. And this is so interesting how small this got, but in the Highlander it was big, in the older Siennas it was big, but this is your little conversation mirror, and I guess you're supposed to be able to see people here and talk to them, but they look like Micro Machine people. Interesting, but I guess they didn't want to do away with it. If there was a way for them to maybe bring this back a couple inches, move this over here and turn this into a sunglass case, I'd be a little bit happier, but I don't design the vehicles, so this is what we get. But yeah, I'd probably be a little happier with a sunglass case. But speaking of the Safety Connect, that's right there. It comes for free for the first year. You got to get signed up. It's already saved a couple of my clients' lives. It's amazing. So unlike the back lenses that have a separate button, this you have to kind of push on the lens on the side here to turn on the lights. And there are 2 lights here, which are pretty bright. But at this area, they're not shining in your face, which is nice. They're kind of like spotlighted down. Same thing on the other side, and like I mentioned, full control to the doors and the hatch. And they light up a nice blue, which I really like. I hope Toyota does blue for a long time. All the buttons down here are going to be blue, down by the shifter. And on the steering wheel, we're all gonna light up this nice crystal blue at nighttime, which is really nice. So yeah, that's a pretty quick introduction, as quick as I can go while being thorough to the interior. I think the last part is we're gonna take this down the road and drive it real quick, and I'll let you know what I think about the drive, since I drive a lot of different vehicles. And then we'll wrap up with some concluding thoughts. Let's take it out. So I'm gonna pop it in drive. Electronic parking brake releases. I'm gonna go back down to normal mode, which I can tell because there's a black screen. And I wanted to show you on the gravel real quick. This is bumpy and cratery, it's got gravel. Drives very nice in the gravel. And this is creating a little bit of a hologram, so I'm just gonna move this over real quick. There we go. It's managing and handling the bumps very nicely. Reminds me of the Tacoma. Definitely a lot better than a Corolla does, or even most of the Camrys. Very soft and forgiving. You can definitely hear the CVT, which is an acquired taste, but you know, you do what you do to get that gas mileage, especially on an all-wheel drive van. And I wanted to start the drive video here because we're gonna go up a hill in normal mode, and I'll give you my interpretation. I'm about 3/4 throttle, and I got up to 30 pretty quick, which is what we're allowed to do here. Loving the visibility. Very minimal road noise compared to some of the other vehicles that I've driven. We're moving up in speed limit, so I'm going to go ahead and put it into sport mode. I'm going to back off a little bit and let it slow back down. And now I'm going to launch it a little bit. Ready? Yeah, it kicks in a little bit. You know, definitely has some power to move people, but this wasn't made to blow you back in your seat. Gave me a little bit of push. I do remember the V6 Siennas, but the thing about the V6 Sienna was it felt like a heavy dog that took a minute to kick in. This is kind of just ready to roll while it's up to speed. Most of the wind noise, I mean it's minimal, but most of the wind noise is on the top up here, on the forehead, I guess. Yeah, it's comfortable, and I have some miles under my belt in these vans. We have a couple in rental over the last year and a half. I've taken them on a couple trips. Look at these trees. I'm gonna make this turn here. The hybrid brakes are nice. They're very responsive and strong. And with the electronic steering here, it's very easy to turn this thing. It doesn't make me feel like I'm working it. Beautiful autumn drive with you guys. I'm so glad to take you on this. New York has a very pretty autumn. I think the only state that beats us is probably Vermont. But boy, do I love a New York fall. Should probably let off of the gas a little bit. It's smooth. And I've taken this van on the highway at highway speeds. I've taken a couple trips with family in this generation of Sienna. Got great gas mileage, well into the 30s, and moving with traffic, and we were very happy with it. Coming to a stop. I'm just gonna go around this turn, and then I'm gonna meet you at the parking lot. Okay. Gonna take this turn at about 30. No problems at all. The TNGA platform, like I like to talk about in every video, they bring it to the table, guys. Toyota New Global Architecture has the best frames in my opinion, the best drive, lower center of gravity, they're quieter, the buttons feel so high quality. You can always sport mode it when you need the juice. I'm gonna kick it up and no problem. It sounded like it's working hard, but trust me, that's how the CVT sounds. It's doing its thing. Trust Toyota CVTs. They do them in the hybrids. They're reliable. If you don't believe me, go down to New York City or any big city in the US and see who's running the show with the taxis. All right, I'll meet you in the lot. That's just because the key's in my pocket and it's still on. So there it is, guys. Thanks for joining me in this video. It was great to go over the Sienna all-wheel drive with you. You know, as a Toyota guy, you know I'm slightly biased, but I'm not afraid to admit the stuff I don't like. I would say this van definitely gets a solid A+ in my opinion. Not the extra credit, but it's a solid A+. It's tough to blow me away, but if you're in the market for a minivan, you gotta get your hands on a Toyota. At least call your local Toyota dealership and ask them about it. See what they have as far as availability. They're tough to get. I think they're worth the wait. You know, the new colors that are available and the way it drives. Do your research and really see if what the competition against the Sienna, what's out there, really holds its own against this awesome van. But with that being said, thanks again to everybody that supports me. Thank you for watching this video. Please like the video if it served you. Please share it with friends and family that you think would enjoy. And I will catch you in the next one. Peace.